Hey everybody, welcome to Build the Kingdom, where we talk lifestyle, real estate, and business. Real stories to help you imitate success and avoid lessons. I hope you enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Today we have Zac Wein in the house. Zac, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate you coming in. Yeah, man, I'm super excited today. We've got an awesome conversation based around multiple things that I think are critically important in life. In regards to business, lifestyle, spirituality, right? Just three things that I think all can tie each other together, strengthen somebody's life for sure. I'm excited to talk about your gym journey, your spirituality journey with that, and then also tying in sobriety and, a lifestyle that can serve you rather than steal from you. So
Absolutely
excited to chat on some of those things, man. But
Absolutely.
yeah, why don't you give the listeners a little rundown where you're from, who you are, and just kind of, give them the 10,000-foot view of Zac.
Let's go, brother. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored to be here. And I love what you're doing with this podcast. So to be a part of it is just an honor, bro.
Awesome,
so thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
But yeah, so, my name is Zac, and I've lived here in Arizona for about 9 years. Before that, I lived in Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin. I'm glad I grew up there. I don't claim it as home. Arizona is definitely home.
Okay.
Like you said, you touched on a lot of things, a good recap already of some of some insights that I can really bring to the table to the listeners, whether it's sobriety, fatherhood, business. I did not grow up rich, but I grew up wealthy in the sense that I lucked out. I had very supportive parents growing up. We didn't have a lot of money, but I grew up with a lot of love. So I consider myself wealthy in that sense. I grew up wealthy there. As a kid, I was real rebellious, very rebellious, if you can't tell by like the face tattoos. And my dad recognizing that early on, he saw that, school really just wasn't for me. So I would often just skip school to read business books. I have memories of, freshman year of high school reading, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Great book.
While, skipping third and fourth period. And my dad recognizing that you would pay me to, read these books and then write little reports on them.
Okay.
I grew up with a very supportive dad, a supportive mom, and a supportive stepmom. And that kind of gave me like a pillar. So no matter what chaos I brought upon my life, in the later years, I was kind of able to still have a foundation of okay, I know that there's like a better way. Outside of, early years were pretty crazy. I got sober pretty young though. I got sober around 19.
Okay.
And I've been sober ever since. I'm coming up on 15 years of sobriety. But through that, right, just because I'm sober doesn't mean that life is going to be perfect. So I can definitely cause a lot of chaos in my life. I'm a big believer in not ever calling myself a victim of anything. I've caused most of the turmoil that's ever happened in my life. And, being able to, rely on, God and friends and community to to be there for me throughout, everything. In that time, started a business. I started a business when I was 21 called Zac Fit. Now we've grown to I have a fitness app that's growing in popularity online, which is really nice because there's only so much of me that I can duplicate here in person. Yep. So having an online presence is good. I may not have the most followers on Instagram, but I have a very robust training app. So I don't need all of the followers. I just need the right followers. And I've definitely found that. And building a community around that is huge. But I'm a father of 4 as well. So I've got 4 sons that are 10, 9, 8, and 8. So it was a busy couple of years. And being a father is also just helps have just awesome purpose with life as well. But without rambling on and on about any of that, there's kind of the overview of all the different things.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, dude. And let's touch on fatherhood because it's a interesting story for me. Don't have any of my own currently.
Yeah,
and have 2 stepsons, and they are now almost 18 and 14.
The dad that stepped up. Let's go.
Exactly. So it's a really unique journey. Starting the relationship with them was foundationally friendship, right? So
Yeah.
a different twist to fatherhood, but still the same understanding of, when this, at the time, I can say little person, like when this just little 9-year-old
Yeah.
and 12-year-old, when I met them, are just kind of hovering around and, are just, it's just such an interesting concept to, again, not really being there from infant stage,
Right.
but, feeling that purpose and feeling that just immediate switch behind that, that goes off behind a whole different level of, it's just hard to explain, a whole different level of, getting after it for your family and,
Yeah.
and being a leader. And, you just feel like everything just turns up a notch and you don't know where that comes from.
Yeah.
It's just kind of this natural gift
Right.
that I think God gives us for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you share just kind of how that, now you said they're
Yeah.
10,
9,
8, and 8. So 10 years ago, it's been 15 years of your sobriety journey, 5 years into that,
Yeah.
we're the children.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about how that kind of changed your life and how that potentially, helped you with the business and how that, made that
Absolutely.
excel.
Like, man, it's awesome hearing you're the stepdad, the dad that stepped up, that's such it's just a beautiful and amazing thing to have like an awesome stepdad. Growing up, I had an amazing stepmom. I can tell you I am who I am today because of my stepmom. I lucked out. I didn't have just 2 parents. I had 3. So that's awesome, man. Like, good for you. And like your sons are going,
Yeah. Yeah.
your sons are gonna like love you for that. So you're that's amazing. And I can say confidently that I would not be who I am or where I am today if I wasn't a dad. Being a dad, especially a father of 4, it's not just lit like a fire under my butt. It's like an explosion of just purpose and drive. And I guarantee you, I would have been satisfied with a lot less in life if I didn't have 4 kids to like not only support, but to live for, and also to set an example of. Right now my kids are at this age, it's this sweet spot of all they want to do is like hang out with me, right? Like if you ask them what they want to do, it's gonna be like, oh, hang out with dad. It might be doing like, whether it's going camping up north or going to the trampoline park, right? Like they really want to hang out with me. Now I know that's going to end soon, especially my oldest 2, right around the corner from 13. And then they'll be too cool at some point, but they're watching, they're always watching, and their worst behaviors are often a mirror of my worst behaviors. And that they're always watching. So just, there's that. And then there's also, I want my boys to have everything, right? So, I grew up with support, but not a lot of like resources. I want my kids to have like the resources, the love, and the support. So to give them just like an elevated experience of life that I didn't have. With that though, also like making sure that the boys aren't just like spoiled brats. So making sure that my boys understand that like a life rooted in service is a very fulfilled life, right? So the first 13 years of my sobriety, I was in a rush to have the best life possible, right? All the tangible things, all the monetary goals, right? Like you name it, like all that tangible stuff. I wanted it all and I got it. But I still wasn't feeling full, like on the inside. So for the last 2 years, I've been on a mission to be of maximum service, right? So like a little bit later today, I'm helping a friend move. And I like annoyed them into letting me help them move, right? Like they're hiring movers and I'm still saying, no, like I have a truck, I'll show up. So going out of my way to be of service. Being of service does a couple things. It gets me outside of myself. As a human, but also as a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, right? We're inherently selfish and self-centered. So I need to actively do things to get myself outside of myself. If I'm worried about myself and my little designs and plans for life, things don't always go as planned. Like God's plan for me is far better than whatever I'm like cooking up.
Love that.
So being of service, getting outside of myself. So whether that's like going with my kids and we'll go to like McDonald's and buy a bunch of like burgers, and then we'll go in like downtown Phoenix and like hand them out to homeless people. Part of my story is I was homeless for 9 months, sleeping on park benches. I was sleeping on a park bench of a park where my dad and I used to play catch at when I was a kid. So, you know, making sure that my boys know like the full extent of my story and my history. Making sure that my boys know that like living a life of service is just super important. So it kind of stops them from, or it encourages them not to be spoiled brats.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having kids made it so, you know, really, so I quit my first training job. So when I started my business, I was an independent contractor out of like a big standard, like big gym.
Okay.
So I kind of ran my business inside of there. And I would have probably just stayed there if I didn't have kids, but just having kids and all of the responsibilities and bills that come with that, I was like, man, I want more. So moving out here to start my business was really because of my kids. When I was about to have my first son, we were almost gonna have our first son in Wisconsin, but I was like, if I like sow those seeds here, like I may never leave.
Mm-hmm.
So just like uprooting everything, coming to Arizona was even because of, you know, having kids.
Yeah. And what pulled you to Arizona? Because I'm from Michigan, as we've talked
there we
about
go.
originally.
Yes,
So
yep.
Two Midwesterners, that blue collar, hardworking area, very nice people.
Yeah.
You just find a lot of what I firmly believe is strongly rooted and foundationally sound people that come from the Midwest. Would love to know your take on the trip out to Arizona, because I know it's popular to Arizona, Florida are pretty much the two Midwest targets, right? You either go southeast or southwest. And so I'd love to know what kind of pulled you this way. I don't know, maybe you had connections out here.
Yeah, you know, I was really I wanted to go somewhere where the sun was. Just being from Milwaukee, there's not a lot of sun. So when I did a lot of traveling in my early 20s, I would pack up a backpack, and every December in July, I would just go to the airport. And this is like before like phone apps were popular. So I'd literally just go to the airport, and I'd go to Spirit Airlines, the cheapest, and I would just pick a place to go. And every time, and I would travel that way for a month, right? Just different places, cheap flights. I always just ended up in Phoenix because it's just such a hub.
Mm-hmm.
So like going other places, we'd just stop in Phoenix. And that's really why I chose Arizona. I didn't really have any connections out here at all. I just packed up my Volkswagen Jetta and anything I could fit in there, and I just drove out here and took my time stopping at different national parks. But once I got here, my plan was just to sleep in my car at like campsites around the outskirts of the city, and then just work on like getting clients for personal training. Luckily, when I moved down here, I had a friend of a friend who was going out of town and needed a house sitter. So I just, you know, God's plan, not my plan. I got there and I had like a place to stay for 7 days. But my first client ever in Arizona, I got in a CVS parking lot. So I was in a CVS parking lot, and there was a guy with, you know, being in Scottsdale, there was a guy in a Mercedes that he had it like wrapped in like blaze orange. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that guy wants to talk about his car. So I went up to him and I was like, man, I love your car. This is so cool. Tell me about it. And he goes on and on about it. And I asked him like, oh, what do you do? And I knew he would eventually ask what I did. So he talks about, you know, what he was doing. And then he's like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm an in-home personal trainer. I'm not a guy living in his car that's like trying to start a personal training business. Like, oh no, I'm an in-home trainer. And I had some kettlebells, and I was like, yeah, I come to you. How convenient. You don't even have to leave your house. And I'd like, man, I'd love to give you like a free consultation. And he goes, oh, that'd be great. When are you available? I said, I'm pretty booked up these next couple days. I was not booked up at all.
Yeah.
But you know, how about Friday? And then, you know, the rest is history. But that first, I would say my first week or two here, very similar, like in the way of just like random meeting, right? Like whether it was at a CVS parking lot or I'm part of some 12-step groups, it's kind of like going to meetings and then like chatting with people outside of the meeting. You know, I got about 6 clients or so within my first week or two of being here. So then I was able to have the down payment for my first apartment out here. And then my wife at the time then flew her out, and then we like started our little life here. I think the coolest thing about being God-centered is that no matter what, I'm going to be okay, right? Like, I don't have to have fear. I don't have to have fear of people, places, things, situations. I don't have to have fear of economic insecurity, right? Like, I can just act. And as long as I'm doing the next right thing, I know God's got my back. So, uprooting my life and packing up a car and moving across the country might sound scary to someone who isn't God-centered. But since I have that higher power and a community of friends that I can rely upon, I wasn't even nervous. Like, I just knew it was going to work.
Love that.
Yeah.
With the, I wanted to touch on what I thought was critically important was, I think you went up to the guy with the orange Mercedes in a sense of you really were interested in his interest, which was his car.
Yeah.
Did you think there was a potential of something coming out of that? Of course, and like it would be naive to say that a conversation isn't a two-way street.
Right.
But at the same time, I loved what you said was you focused on the other person first and their needs and their desires and their wants, which was the heart or your service heart if you hadn't realized it yet. Right.
Yeah.
And then,
thank you.
Yeah. And I think the second point that I loved hearing you say was you were speaking as if you already had the fully functioning business and had the, oh yeah, I don't do it at my house. I do it at your house. Like you already had the house, and you already had the life and the lifestyle. You had that mindset, which I think comes potentially from those books you read while you were younger and all of that preparation, right? To where, if you could share a little bit about, would you have been comfortable with that at every age, or where do you feel as though that communication finally clicked where you're like, this is something I need to do. If this is the life I want, I do have to go and be uncomfortable and talk to that person, that random person, or I do have to randomly go up and just congratulate somebody on what looks to be a wonderful situation they're in, no matter the outcome.
Yeah.
Obviously that's where then things can come for you.
Yeah.
So would love to know if that's always been something you've been comfortable with. Because I know a lot of people really do struggle with the first step of business, which is you do have to go and shake someone's hand. Yeah. You do have to go and network. You do have to get up and get out.
Yeah.
Because it's not, a growing business is not just going to come to you. So,
that's such a great point. I'm so glad you asked that, because in the fitness industry, I have seen some of the most highly educated people have the least performing business. You can have all of the education in the world, but if you can't inspire someone, all that education is for nothing.
Yeah.
Someone really close to me, a good friend, is getting into the fitness industry, and they're like, what should I do? Should I go to college for kinesiology, this and that? And I told him, man, get that $1,000 certification online, right? Get your NASM, and then go sell cars, go door-to-door sales, sell blinds door-to-door. Like, if you can't convince and inspire someone to believe in you, people use like sales as like, think it's like a dirty word. It's not. Like, if you can't convince someone to work with you, how are you going to help anyone?
Yeah.
And whenever trainers ask me, like, what should I do to get into the industry? And I give them that advice, they're always pretty much like taken back. But fitness, especially, it's not rocket science. Most of the information is out there online for free anyways. What most people don't have is that ability to shake that hand, to introduce themselves, to inspire, to motivate, to build a community. But, to touch on more of your question, I knew from an early age that I was too rebellious and not intelligent enough to rely on what most people can rely on. So my entire life has been built off of enthusiasm and hard work. And where I'm not the most intelligent guy in the room, but I will definitely outwork and make more connections than you. And I knew that from a young age that, look, if I'm going to skip school, if I'm going to graduate high school with a 1.6 GPA, right? Which is true. I have to have something else. I have to be a people person. I have to be able to motivate. I can't just like there's no other option. So, from an early age in high school, there was a corner store kind of near the high school. And I noticed that in the back in their little dumpster area, there would always be like energy drinks or just like stacks of just like drinks. So I went in there and I talked to the guy and he's like, hey, like, oh yeah, those are expired. And I told him like, hey man, if you're ever throwing out anything that's expired or near expired, just call me. And sometimes he'd ask for a couple bucks. Sometimes he'd just give it to me and I'd put it in like a buddy's car, bring it home. And then I would go to school every day with like energy drinks and candy bars and things. And I'd sell them for just like $1 a piece. When one of my first jobs, I was bussing tables at a huge buffet. It was practically like a feeding trough, the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
So, we weren't servers. We were bussers. We would bus the tables, but I got this idea. I was like, man, so if I'm responsible for 30 tables in a section, right? And typically when you're a server, you maybe get 5 or 7 tables. It's like, if I've got 30 tables in a section, if I can just figure out a way, because everyone would tip like a couple bucks, like $1 or $2, because you're just the busboy. And I was like, if I can figure out a way to like elevate their experience in exchange for a higher tip, this will be great. So I started dressing nice. Usually the busboys would just wear like black shirt, black pants, but like it'd be very dirty. I was like, okay, I'm gonna elevate it a little bit. I got polos and dress pants and a belt, tuck in my shirt. I wear nicer shoes. I went to Goodwill and got some dress shoes. And then I would go up to each table and I'd say, hello, my name is Zach. I'll be taking care of you today. If you need anything at all, I've got your back. If you have any, like, want to like locate any food, because we wouldn't get them food because it's way too many tables and it's a buffet. But I would get every table like their first soft drink. So I'm like, oh, what would you like to drink? I'd go get them sodas, and they'd be like, oh, like, they'd say things like, oh, can I get some like fried chicken? I'm like, yeah, so the fried chicken's over there. Right next to, like, if you see the desserts, you've gone too far. And I would introduce myself to every table like that. And then everyone was tipping 20% off of however much it was at the time to like do the all you can eat buffet. My coworkers hated me. Every job I've ever had, my coworkers have hated me. I'm a great employer, right? You can ask my trainers. I love my trainers, but coworkers have always hated me because I elevate the customer's experience so much that it then becomes the standard. So then once, the manager and the owners of the buffet saw how well it was going, because, the customers were having a better experience, they started coming back, they started becoming regulars. Then they made that the standard for everyone. So everyone had to dress nicer, introduce themselves to every table. But yeah, it's if I am gonna be rebellious, right? Like, like I've had a mohawk for like 12, like, I was like faux hawk, I never had them like those. I'm gonna have all the tattoos, right? Like, if I'm not gonna go to college, I have to have an extra edge, and that's gonna be with like enthusiasm and connecting to people.
Yeah, a pace setter. I like that. And you mentioned earlier too, I firmly believe working in the service industry, critical. I've done it as well. I was a Red Lobster server.
Absolutely.
Did my best to elevate.
Yeah.
Did my best to be different. When most people would go out to their tables, we'd have a lot of turns at the same time. So you'd get like 3 or 4 tables all at once. You'd get their orders, put them in, and then somebody would just go and hang in the kitchen for 20 minutes or go out and, go outside and smoke, or again, not judging the action, just judging the habit of, I'm not going to go and walk by every 5 minutes, because just walking by gives them the opportunity to grab you. Like, if they don't see you, that's lessening their experience. So I was always the one that was present and hovering and at least in eyesight.
Yeah.
Red Lobster, we all had to dress the same, so I couldn't really like outplay the dress code. But yeah, man, that's something I think that's critically important. The door-to-door sales, I've done that. When I moved out here, I sold solar door-to-door, and
exactly.
I am a firm believer, if you can sell anything at the door, you can sell anything anywhere. Because if you are an unwanted, unknown individual that randomly catches someone by surprise at the door, and then that day you can sell them a $50,000 solar panel system. When you can do that, not only is it something that just elevates your sales experience, elevates your sales skills, your sales habits, right? With the, understanding you do need to hit a certain number of doors to get a certain number of conversations, to then get a certain number of I got in the house, to then a certain number of, oh, this is actually progressing.
Yeah.
You can understand the analytics of a sale. There's a lot to it, but the confidence that comes from it, right? Just in conversation, right?
Absolutely.
As you shared, the communication is key. And if you don't have the confidence to even go up and say hi to someone, wow, you got a nice car.
Yeah.
How do you expect that you are then going to, provide something of service to them, if it be a product, an experience, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Which
uncomfortable is the best.
Yeah. Getting uncomfortable. And then what I loved, in our communication before the podcast was, and I'm a firm believer in this as well, is you have to solve someone's problems.
Yeah.
Give them a great experience and elevate their life, or solve a problem. And that's where financial gain can come.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
For instance, in your industry, you're looking to solve people's problems with, hey, I'm not happy in my own skin potentially.
Yeah.
Or I am happy in my own skin, but I want to elevate. Right. So then you're going to create more of a, not necessarily a life change or fixing something for them, but you're elevating something for them.
Absolutely.
So that's super cool. And, also to share too, which we haven't touched on, we do jujitsu together.
Let's
so
go.
I get to get beat up by this guy every day.
Oh no, man, you're scary. You're scary. He looks all clean cut, but he's an animal.
So that's the funny thing is, when you walked in the first day, I remember I had started probably a few months before you.
Yeah.
And, I'm this fresh white belt, and I see this guy come in, and I was like, I'm from a very diverse background. So again, I'm not a judge a book by its cover person. But when I saw you put on a belt with no stripes, and then I looked at you, and that was before we had to wear a rash guard under the gi, so I could see your whole chest, and you're like already sweating. So like all your tats are shining, and you have no stripes on your white belt. Which to anybody out there that doesn't understand that means this is a fresh individual. And I looked at you and I said, this guy is going to be a problem.
Oh, thank you.
in the sense of like, this guy's not going to just come in and, this isn't your typical trial day dude where you get to destroy him. And I remember the first time I rolled with you, I think you choked me out like 10 times. And I was like, I was right. This guy is great. So,
bro, thank you.
No, of course.
If only I could perform that well competition day, that'd be amazing.
Oh, and I'm so competitive, and to the, to the point where I'm also not naive. I understand that jiu-jitsu is a game of technique and habits and more mental than physical. Right.
Yeah.
So I guess let's touch on that. You jumping in, to jiu-jitsu. How do you feel as though in the, around a year that you've been doing it?
Yeah.
How do you feel now being a blue belt has impacted you? Because you did take the step of sobriety, you did then take the step of fatherhood, then you took the step of business, right? In that form, which I think is critically important of how you approached life.
Yeah.
You took care of you first, right? Which helped you grow and become the father that you knew you should or wanted, would have wanted to be, to then take the financial side to another level. How do you feel as though kind of now wrapping in jiu-jitsu into the business?
Yeah.
How has that established better, maybe foundational habits, lifestyle, communication, confidence? Like what has jiu-jitsu done for you?
Gosh. And to us jiu-jitsu guys that in, our algorithms give us these like jiu-jitsu memes and things.
Gosh.
Like, I know it's such a cliche, but like jiu-jitsu changed everything.
Yeah.
Like I had about 14 years of weightlifting under my belt, did a lot of CrossFit, and I was just burnt out. Like, I didn't want to touch a dumbbell or barbell like ever again. And I own a gym, and I'm like, well, I can't like be an out of shape gym owner.
Yeah.
So, jiu-jitsu right away, it gave me an outlet for fitness, it's fun. It's always different. No two rolls are ever the same. And so there's that aspect, the discipline aspect, just showing up and doing it anyways. Especially the first few months. I mean, I was just getting beat up. My body was just like, it's more sore than it had ever been.
Yeah.
Cause as a new guy doing jiu-jitsu, you don't know when to like relax.
Yeah.
Everything is just tense.
Oh man.
Just tense. You're just trying to survive. And then, as you get to learn the sport of jiu-jitsu and how the positions work and more of the moves and kind of how the game works and the scoring system, then you can kind of learn like, okay, this is where I relax. This is where I put more pressure, but relax my own body, make them carry me. Then I kind of got less debilitated.
Yeah.
But a big thing, and I don't know personally, I don't think jiu-jitsu would have changed my life as much if I didn't also compete. So I compete about every 10 weeks in jiu-jitsu, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about like 15 months or so. So I compete. Now I compete because I don't like the competition. Business, I'm definitely a competitive person, but like physical confrontation or even just like oral confrontation, like debates or things like that, I run from like it's the plague. So jiu-jitsu competitions, it's a different pace than just like a rolls with your academy. Because like you're my friend and I love you. I don't want you to actually be hurt.
Yeah.
Right? But in competition, there's this mindset of like you're going into battle, and that makes me so unimaginably uncomfortable that I have to do it. I have to. Like I need things that push me outside of my comfort zone. The week before a competition, I get so nervous. I'm nervous even talking about it. I'm like,
You're starting to give me butterflies.
Yeah, right. But I need to do that. I need to push myself outside of my comfort zone. If I'm too comfortable, I feel like I'll cease to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu also gave me a way to be a beginner at something. Up until starting jiu-jitsu, in almost every area of my life, I was either like looked up to or like an expert in.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it was the fitness industry or, fitness, people coming to me to learn, and I'm teaching. What was cool about jiu-jitsu is I knew nothing, right? And like even now, like I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like it's always like I've heard some black belts say that like they started their journey at black belt.
Yeah.
Like
famous quote from Kiko as
yes,
well.
exactly. Yes, exactly. And also just like the academy that you and I train at is amazing.
Yeah.
Like the community that Kiko and his family have built, the fact that it's a family business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't say enough. I love it there. My kids go to their kids classes. We really lucked out. We have a very good academy that we go to. But how about you? Now you've been doing jiu-jitsu for about a little bit longer than me. What kind of ways did jiu-jitsu change your life?
So I started April of last year. So I've been in for almost a year and a half, but there was a 4 to 5 month stint where I had to stop. Reason being, I've had a excruciating journey of physical problems from sports, all the way up from my childhood. And, that'd be broken bones, torn ligaments in my knees, dislocated kneecaps, torn rotator cuff in my shoulder, broken ribs, broken wrists, broken ankles, who knows how many concussions. So just the body's been beat up. And like you said, early in your jiu-jitsu journey, you focus so much. And something that I realized is, again, kind of tying the business to it. Cause I think it's important because jiu-jitsu is way bigger than just like, bear hugging another dude on mats and being like, rawr,
Yeah.
I tie it very much to the similar thing of when you try out a new skill, you want it so bad and you try so hard and you squeeze it by the neck way too much to where you restrict yourself more than you realize. You think you're giving it your all, but you're actually restricting yourself.
Yeah.
And I saw that in jiu-jitsu, which was really cool, which was, if it be relationships, business, whatever, is you can't restrict, right? And it sounds so cliche, but once you do it, you actually feel it and realize it. You recognize, all right, I don't have to burn myself out in the first week of trying something, right?
Yeah.
Just like I don't have to burn myself out in the first minute of a roll because I feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Relax.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, when you are in your worst position, that's when you should relax the most.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously there's always movement and you always need to be quick, right? With your mindset, you always need to pivot. You always need to be thinking of your next 2 to 3 actionable steps.
Yeah.
So there's a whole nother level to jiu-jitsu after just learning, hey, I'm in a really bad spot. I should actually relax and not squeeze harder.
Right.
So that was something that I had to learn really early, which resulted in being in some positions and, just early white belts, rolling with early white belts.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's bursting too hard and throwing their
Oh,
hips
yeah.
this way and
Oh, yeah.
twisting that way. And I actually dislocated my kneecap. And then I hit the mat and it popped back in.
Oh my God.
And so, and I had done that to this kneecap before, to where I had completely, kneecap in the back of my leg and had to have a trainer in college snap my leg back into place.
Oh my God.
So it's been a journey. And once that happened, I took a step away for the physical side. I was like, I'm going back.
Yeah.
Then I got so in my head where I'm like, is this something that I really want to do?
Mhm.
And as everybody knows, the jujitsu bug, it sticks. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, I got to go back.
Absolutely.
And so that's why there was a 4 to 5 month hiatus. And it's it's been nothing but a blessing. It's been extremely rewarding in terms of the friendships, like getting to
yeah.
meet you. You've been an awesome friend. Every time I see you, dude, it's just like all smiles.
Let's go.
So it's a blessing, just the great people you can be around. Everybody's in the same mindset. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm here to get better.
Absolutely.
Which is just this. It's the simple fact of you just need to surround yourself with great people. Again, a lot of cliches, but actionable things that you can do.
Oh yeah.
Go and join a group, right? What does it do? It keeps you out of certain time slots of the day where you could choose to, think too much about sobriety, or you could go in the afternoon when everybody else is going for a beer after work, but I'm going to go to the 6:30 class, because I know I would rather be working out with great people and getting a better mindset than frying my brain cells.
Yeah.
So like you learn these things, again, no judgments on
course.
anyone, but
Yeah.
it's just, there are so many positives
Oh yeah.
that you don't really realize until you do it.
Absolutely. And I love how, we can be in a class with a dozen people and like everyone has different careers, different ages, different walks of life. Like my some of my favorite like guys to roll with, like I've like nothing in common with, right? But it's like the jiu-jitsu brings us together.
Yeah.
And community is just so important. Whether people find that at like a church setting or a hobby like jiu-jitsu. And I often say one of the main reason why my clients, at my personal training studio get just insane results is because of accountability and community. Like workouts are for free online. Like meal plans are for free online. Like people come to me for accountability and community, and having, my Zac fitters, right? My business is called Zac Fit. I call them my Zac fitters.
Love that.
But they'll even get together outside of Zac Fit, right? Like a bunch of, like a dozen of them went to Sedona and like got an Airbnb and like did like a whole like retreat on their own.
Yeah.
Always having, events at, whether it's like, in a few weeks we're going paintballing, and then a few weeks ago we did like a clay class. And it just, having a community is so important. Like we don't have to go through life alone. With that community, even at my gym, like someone got, someone's house got flooded, right? And then like other Zac fitters were there to help, so like community.
Yeah.
So important.
And when things go bad in life, you've got people to lean on.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know how many people are routinely coming to your gym?
Yeah.
For the listeners today, because I know you've got great programs, and you are a dude with maybe 1% body fat. So,
oh gosh,
great
Way more than
programs.
that. Thank you.
Great programs, great work ethic. Just great mindset. So people who are interested in maybe taking advantage of your app and becoming kind of like a remote part of your community. What do your numbers look like in terms of people that you service in person, and then also maybe nationwide? Yeah,
absolutely. So with the app, we've got 87 active users. And then in the studio, we have about 70 in-person clients.
Okay.
And when I work with people, I'm not looking to work with I don't need like thousands of clients. I just need like under 100, in the sense that because all of my clients I get to know personally. I know every single one of my clients, first names, what they do for work, their family life. Because when people sign up with me, they're really getting like a very personalized experience. So when people want to work with me online, they fill out a consultation form, just like link in bio sort of thing.
Yep.
Everyone that works with me gets like a face-to-face over like a virtual consultation to go over their goals, what they're looking for out of fitness, how I can help. So it's a very personal experience. I'm not one of those like Instagram guys that's like, sign up for my program and you get like a PDF.
Yeah.
Or it's like some app that has like no customizations. You just kind of walk through everything. Like all of my clients still get customized programming. There's a lot of communication outside of session and things like that. So from the moment someone signs up with me, I really just kind of like take over their fitness world, and I'm there for them basically 24/7 and infinitely. It's a unique experience, and that all comes from I haven't always been fit. So when I was, an actively using drug addict and alcoholic, I didn't even have the benefit of like being skinny. I was like an overweight junkie, which is just not a good look. But when I got sober and then through fitness, I lost 70 pounds, actually working with a personal trainer as well. Cool. So through that experience, it really like catapulted me into like really wanting to help other people achieve what they're looking for out of fitness. I train all sorts of people, whether they're, looking to get more athletic, whether it's for like, they're running a marathon or they do like jujitsu or a sport. But most of the people I work with are just like your average everyday people looking for an elevated fitness experience. Like, absolutely. I have clients where I've helped them lose 100 pounds, but most of the time, it's people just looking to lose like 20, 30 pounds and increase their like, daily life activities. But yeah, basically it's really like word of mouth and through Instagram.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And so where can they go to find you if they want to just check out who is Zac?
Yeah.
Do you have any, good, quick Instagram usernames, websites that they can check out?
So zacfit.com, ZACFIT.com.
All right.
And then Instagram is @zac.fit.
Okay. Awesome, man. Yeah. And I know again, it's the whole social media followers thing. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors with it, right? Yeah. It's the impact. Yep. Like you said, I don't want 1,000 clients where I know one thing about them and it's their name. I want 100 clients with their life story.
Exactly.
And I think that's important is, helping people understand the concept that as long as you create that foundation, I've seen your stuff. I've looked into your programs. I know who you are. Yeah. I think, you're onto something, and I think it will grow much bigger than you'll ever expect. And
thanks,
of course, and yeah, man. And I know it's because you started the right way, which was that first person with that orange Benz.
Yep.
That you were able to go up and actually establish you cared about them. Right. And you started there. You started with care. You started with service. You started with a pure heart. And I think that is why that reflects. Right. And you see a lot of problems out there nowadays. I mean, there's a huge problem with a 9-figure Ponzi scheme going on right now. And, I obviously don't want to name names, but, there's just a lot going on out there today where people just don't care for other people or they get to a point where maybe they lost sight of that. And to see where you have come from your first day, it's great to see that you've only enhanced those habits, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I greatly appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Why don't you end it? I know I asked you for your favorite quote.
Yeah.
Why don't you end it, sharing with the people your favorite quote, what your thought process is behind that, and just, maybe give them a little verbal nugget to close out the podcast.
I don't.
It was the life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond.
Yeah, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And also another really good one is the quickest way to happiness is think about yourself less.
Wow, that's good. That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
That's a Macklemore quote.
Macklemore, dude. I am a huge fan of Macklemore. Back to, I'm sure you heard it, in sobriety days, the song he made about, I'm going to blank on it now. It's about the boat sinking and there's no sea left for me.
Yeah.
Dude, I
can hear it in my head.
Yeah.
It's early on, Macklemore, Ryan Lewis.
Yeah. At Macklemore, Ryan Lewis, cloudy day. He has turn your head a little. I feel like he has a very similar anchor tattoo. Not Macklemore, the other artist that or was it Ryan Lewis? It was the guy who was singing the hook, but great song just about addiction and how you can break free from that. But dude, Matt, like, again, a lot of people look at Macklemore as this cliche, you know, thrift shopping song,
right.
dude.
No,
Like, that's all they know about him.
There's
But
so much depth.
he's got a lot of depth to his story and what he's fought through and how he has, you know, relapsed and then regrown from that. And so great stuff, dude. But I appreciate you coming in.
Brother, thanks for having me.
Can't wait for the next role where you get to choke me out, put me to sleep.
Bro, I'm scared.
Yeah. So maybe one day I'll get it on camera so everybody can see how much of an absolute beast you are.
Hardly. Thank you, brother.
Dude. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bro, that's so great. Let's go.